Yesterday, Donald Trump rallying voters in the swing state of Michigan, his first public appearance since that second attempt on his life on Sunday.
President, it's a little bit dangerous. It's, they think race car driving is dangerous. No. They think bull riding, that's pretty scary, right? No. This is a dangerous business, and we have to keep it safe. Then you wonder why it gets shot at, right? Only consequential presidents get shot at.
Well, this all comes as Congress is hoping to vote this week on a bipartisan bill to give former President Trump a higher level of security. The Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, joins us right now from D.C. with an update. Mr. Speaker, good morning.
Hey, Steve. Great to be with you.
It's good to have you as well. We all know, and painfully so over the last couple of months, former presidents don't get the same kind of Secret Service protection current presidents do. Given the threat level, and given the fact that he is the nominee and could be president of the United States again in, reelected in less than 50 days, he needs more people.
Yes, he does. And I had that conversation with the White House yesterday. I called and demanded that President Trump receive the same level of protection that the sitting president does because he is under such great threat. I mean, clearly, he's the most threatened figure in American public life, and the Secret Service has an obligation to protect him. So they need to make every available asset assigned to him right now. President Trump and I have talked about this, and now I've talked about it with the White House. Now, they say they're going to be cooperative, but they also say there's a manpower issue. So Congress is looking at every aspect of this. If we need to add additional funding, we will, but it's difficult to go hire 2,500 new Secret Service agents in the next 48 days, right? So they're going to have to rely upon, in some cases, to fill the gaps, local and state law enforcement. And so we're looking at every aspect. This job must be done. President Trump must be protected.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the word threat either 2 or 3 times in your answer right there. He faces a lot of threats, and a lot of it is actually, the rhetoric in American politics right now on both sides is hot. It's hot. But in particular, the White House, this White House, the president, the vice president, and even the press secretary have referred to Donald Trump as a threat to democracy. Our White House correspondent, who I think does a great job, called them on this yesterday. Watch this.
How many more assassination attempts on Donald Trump until the president and the vice president and you pick a different word to describe Trump other than threat?
Peter, if anything from this administration, I actually completely disagree with the premise of your question, the question that you're asking. It is also incredibly dangerous in the way that you're asking it because American people are watching.
Mr. Speaker, how do you react to that?
It's absurd. KJP is absurd. And as usual, Mr. Doocy asked the right questions. Peter's exactly on point. The Democrats' rhetoric has been so over the top. They have, for years now, tried to convince people that Donald Trump is equivalent to Hitler, that he's, some great threat to our democracy. You hear him say it over and over. That triggers people. That triggers people like the 2 shooters that have already tried to make an attempt on his life. Everybody has a responsibility, certainly those at the top of the Democratic Party, to turn the heat down. Let's have a vigorous debate on policy. Fantastic. Let's have a debate about the record of both of these officials, but don't try to convince people that he's some sort of threat. Donald Trump is running for president to save the country. His policies, his ideas are going to save America, and it's absurd for them to continue in this charade, and it's actually really quite dangerous.
Mr. Speaker, let's get to your day job. Today, there's going to be a vote on a short-term funding bill. It's not going to pass. What's going to happen?
Listen, Congress has an immediate obligation to do 2 very important things. We have to keep the government funded, and we need to make sure that our elections are secure. And we have a vehicle today to do both things. Because we owe that to the American people, and because they demand it, we're moving legislation today to have a continuing resolution to keep the government going for 6 months and to make sure that illegals cannot vote, non-citizens cannot vote in the upcoming election. It's a #1 issue around the country, Steve. I've been traveling nonstop for campaign events around the country, 206 cities in 40 states so far, okay? Everywhere I go, The first or second question in every public forum is, can we count on the security of the vote? And we've got to make sure that happens. Right now, millions and millions of illegals have come across the border since the border czar Kamala Harris opened it wide with Joe Biden. And many of them are trying to register to vote. We know that is a fact. We've already had audits in a number of states, and we have to ensure that identification and proof of citizenship is offered when someone registers to vote. Plain and simple. The Democrats don't want that, and we're going to try to push it through today.
Okay. I noticed you said going to try. If it doesn't work, any suggestions what Plan B might be? It would probably have to be a clean CR. And then you would need Democrats to help you.
I don't talk about Plan B, Steve. I'm the quarterback on the field or running the play, okay? I got to focus on that down the field. Now, there's a big playbook, lots of ideas, okay? But this is the play. This is the right one. By the way, it's almost a 90% issue in the country. It's not even partisan. Right. Everybody understands only U.S. citizens should vote in U.S. elections. And so we are going to force that, not just the message, but the legislation. Right. This is a real play. We're going to try to get it done today.
Well, good luck to you, sir. Thank you very much for starting your day with us.
You got it. Good to see you.
All right. I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.